Vajra Bhava Maha Samaya Sattva Ahum Hai. Luso chui chui luso yowa chui chuburshin nyurdu jikpe chiwa drembadan shiva jesu ludan tema shin karna ledre chishin trawala ngepa tempo nyene nyebe tso chashi trawa namkya pongwala getso tada drupa chebala takto phagdam dembra chingi lop. This life is as impermanent as a water bubble. Remember how quickly it decays and death comes. After death, just as a shadow follows the body, the result of black and white karma follows. Finding firm and definitive conviction in this, bless me always to be careful to abandon even the slightest negativities and accomplish all virtuous deeds. So, imagine I take this little stick and I throw. Okay? In the moment I open my hand and I let it go, the action of throwing is completed, right? I finished throwing. But what happened? In the moment I finished throwing, the stick continues to fly, even though I finished. So what is making the stick to fly even though the action is finished? The inertia, the force that was generated by that action, right? And let's imagine that I throw the stick in outer space where there is no atmosphere and there is no also a strong gravity as we have now. What would happen if I throw this stick outside of the atmosphere of this planet? It will continue, right? Until it touches into something else. Okay? Because the force that is generated, unless it interacts with an opposite force, it continues. Okay? So, right now when I throw the stick, why it falls soon? Because there are two forces. Basically, there is one force pulling down, which is the force of gravity, and there is the force of being touched with atmosphere itself. Okay? So, this is why it's going down. But it's important to understand here that we have three aspects. There is the action, which generates the force of throwing the stick. There is the force that makes the stick to move afterwards the action is finished. And then there is the other force, that the force that moving the stick encounters that makes the stick to stop. Okay? It can be the head of a person, it can be the wall, or it can be a gradual force that slowly makes it go down and fall on the floor. Okay? So what does this have to do with karma? When I do an action, I say a word to someone, I do anything, even I have a thought. Any action that we do, it is like throwing the stick. The action is the moment I do the action, but as soon as I finish the action, I create a karmic force. I create an energy that is generated by that action. Okay? And that energy, it continues within us, with our mental continuum. They continue. just like throwing the stick in outer space. Until one day, it enters in contact with something else, and then, boom, we get a result. Okay? It's similar, the metaphor that is using often, the analogy that is being used often, is the analogy of planting a seed. When I plant a seed in the ground, the seed holds within it the whole force of becoming a tree. But it holds into it for a long time until the conditions are not ripened. Similar to that, whenever we do any action, whenever we have any interaction, we are actually generating new force. Okay? But the karma itself is not what gives the result. It's the karmic force. Normally we call karma, but actually it's the karmic force. Karma literally means action. So I do something, but the action is already finished long time ago. How can it give result now? Because that action generated a karmic force, a sort of inertia, that at some point, entering in contact with another action, which is a condition for it, will give a certain result. I don't know if it's clear, this. So there is a difference between past, present, and future. So basically it's like this. In the present moment, I am experiencing the result of the past, and I am creating the cause for the future. Clear? So the action that I do in the present moment is a condition to make me experience the results of what I have done in the past. In other words, I experience the past through the present. And in the present, I create new causes that I will experience in the future. Okay, this is the law of karma. Nothing very mystical. Nothing to do with our destiny. Karma means every interaction brings a transformation and a result. And karma is showing how basically past, present, and future are completely interconnected. In the present moment, I am creating new energy, new inertia, new causes that I will experience somewhere in the future. But at the same time, with the present actions, I am interacting with the causes that I did in the past. And so I am experiencing it in the present. In other words, in the present moment, through the present actions and the present conditions, the present is made of two parts, which we call inner conditions and outer conditions. Inner conditions are the actions that I do, the thoughts that I have, the choices that I make in the present moment. Outer conditions are the choices and interactions that come from others. So other people that interact with me, what they say, what they think, what they do, the environment, the weather, whatever, everything that I interact with that is outside of me, plus my own choices, my own thoughts, my own actions of the present moment, these two together interact with the causes that I have done in the past. So I experience my past through my present. In other words, through my present, I will access one part or another part of my past. No? If we make a simple example, it's like I see something now and I remember something of my past. It's like, it's quite interesting to see how much we are completely incapable of experiencing the present independently of the past. I see something and I feel joy because it connects to something that I did in the past. I see something and I feel sadness because it reminds me and it makes me experience something that happened in the past. So every moment, through every action we do, through every choice we make in the present moment, we are creating conditions to experience the result of things that we have done in the past. It can be very remote past or very nearby. Okay. While in the same way, in the present, the same choices that we do, the same interactions that we have, we are creating causes for something that we will experience in our future. Okay? So, once we do any action, that karmic force, it follows with us, it continues with us. There is no choice. There is no such thing as expiry date for karma. Oh, many years have passed. For me, even better than the example of the shadow that Lama Tsongkhapa uses here, for our modern times, I like very much, let's imagine that karma, it's more similar to a credit card, okay, in which we have basically, when we talk about our money, there are two situations, no? There is one situation in which there is work and you get paid for your work. And there is another situation in which you spend the money and you have bills to pay for the money of what you spend, right? Simple as that. Imagine what would happen if you get paid for your work, but it is not on a regular basis. You do the work and you don't know when you will get paid. And you don't know how much you will get paid for each job that you do. So basically, you have the certainty that anything that you do as a job, you will be paid for it. But you don't know how much and you don't know when. And when you get paid, there is no description. Or you are being paid for this job that you did at that time. No, you just get the money, finish. At the same time, when you spend things, you buy stuff, all the money that you spend, you don't know exactly how much things cost, you just buy. And you don't know when the bill will come. So whenever you have the bill to pay, you have no any description what you are paying for. So maybe you have the feeling that this month you didn't spend much and then you get a very high bill. I don't know if you have ever had a certain similar feeling of having a high credit card bill and not remembering that you spent the money. Telephone bill, electricity bill. One time it happened to me with something related to the insurance of the car. I went to renew the insurance of the car and they said, oh no, the price is higher than last year. And I said, why? Oh, because there was an accident. And I said, no. I didn't do any accident. They said, yes, there was. I said, no, I don't remember. I think I would have remembered if I did an accident, no? And I was convinced they were cheating me. And then they said, no, you know, actually, but I asked, is there this paper that you write when there is an accident, you know? They say, yes. And I said, oh, is there my name in it? They said, yes, your name in it. And I said, look, you see, I lend my car to people because I lend my car all the time to people. Someone made an accident and even make my signature. And don't tell me. I said, how is this possible, you know? Come on. So there was this feeling of something not being right, you know. I am experiencing, I'm paying for something that I have nothing to do with it, you know. Then I asked the people from this company insurance, can you send me the copy of this paper? They said, yes. So I receive it and I look at it, they say, oh, they make my signature false and quite well, actually. Then I start looking at it well, and then suddenly I read the description. Then I remember what happened. It was one late evening, like 11, 12 o'clock at night in Albagnano. Completely dark and with a lot of fog. Next day I was leaving early morning, I don't remember to go where. So I took my car out, but when I was going out, I completely didn't see there was a car on the side. So I scratched the car on the side. So I called next day early morning to the center. I made the documentation myself and I said to the center, look, someone sleeping in the center will find his or her car scratched. Please tell them was the Lama. You know? And here is the documentation so that the insurance will pay for it. Otherwise, you know, you come to sleep in the Dharma center and you wake up with your car scratched. And I thought, this is not so nice. So, okay, Then I understood, and in the moment that I understood why I needed to pay more for the insurance, and I said, okay, fine, then I was happy with it, no problem, you know. So, this is just to say that when we have the feeling that we need to pay for something that according to us, we didn't spend the money, or if you receive some money and you cannot connect with which job you did, you say, oh wow, look at that, I got good money. Or if you work very hard and you don't get enough payment, then you feel, you know, after all the work I did, look what I'm getting. So karma is very much like that. When we do an action, positive or negative, we have no any idea what the result will be and when it will manifest. And when we experience the result, we have no way how to understand and connect which were the causes. But one thing is certain. We have no possibility to experience anything disconnected from our own actions. So, Rinpoche used to make the example of the telephone bill, no? Because at that time, Rinpoche would make a lot of international phone calls and so on. And he said in the beginning he was quite shocked to see how precise it was. He said, come on, they send me the bill with every second I use of the phone, you know. So he was saying like, this is worse than karma, you know. Like, how is this possible, you know? But at least in the phone bill, you remember that you did a phone call and then you see the thing there and you have a contract before telling you more or less what is the price, you have some idea of it, you know. When you think about karma, because of our own incapacity of understanding the relationship between action and result, we do things and we have no idea when they will manifest and how they will manifest. So that's why we listen very often to this phrase, but what did I do to experience this? What? I don't know, something for sure. So, once we understand that every action that we do, it will bring inevitably a result. And there is coherence between action and result. So if I want to be well and not to suffer, I will be careful to avoid any action that by its nature brings suffering. And I will do everything that I can to create the causes to do things that will cultivate a state of well-being. How do I know if an action is positive or negative? The definition given in the Buddhist texts, in the beginning I really didn't like it. Because it said, positive actions are all that actions that when manifest their results, they manifest as a sensation of pleasure. Negative actions are all the actions that when they manifest their result, they manifest as a sensation of suffering. And when I saw that for the first time, I said, thank you very much, but how do I know before? Philosophically it fits, it works, but how do I know beforehand? So thinking a lot about it, one of the answers that I found was that one of the tools that we have is not 100% precise, but it's quite very much precise to understand if one action is positive or negative, if it will bring us results of pleasure or suffering, basically, is using our own body as a thermometer. When we feel anger and we act out of anger, how do we feel the body? Relaxed, pleasurable, or tense? When we do something out of jealousy or envy or fear or attachment, how do we feel the body? Tense, bad. When we feel love, connection, gratitude, when we act with respect, when we act with generosity and so on, how do we feel the body? Well, that's a very good thermometer to understand. So it's not a matter of positive actions and negative actions by some sort of law that someone made, and this is the good and this is the bad. Good and bad. You know? I was reading the other day something that I really liked. It was in this Greek text, the Manual of Epiteto. You know, whoever, did you read Greek philosophy? Okay, it's called I read it in Italian, it's called Manuale di Epiteto. Epiteto manual, okay? If you can, read it. It was written a few thousand years ago. So much like Lojong, so similar to Buddhism in a very special way. Manual of Epiteto. Really, really, really nice text. And there was one part of the text in which it was referring to something like, there is no such thing as good and evil. There is only being in accordance with nature and not being in accordance with nature. In other words, there is only something that is in harmony and something that is not in harmony. You know? Because that which we so-called negative action is not because, oh, that's evil by nature. No. Are things that we do, things in a stupid way. I'm sorry to put it in this way, you know. It's like if I have something square that needs to go inside a square hole, or if I make it, you know, and then I have something that is not fitting in the same size, I need to find the right position to put it in. As long as I try to put it in the wrong position, it will not go in. It's not because it's evil. I'm just using the wrong position. Similar to that, anger, hatred, jealousy, envy, these are just stupid way of action based on ignorance in which we try to be happy in a way that doesn't work. We act in ways, thinking, finding the best way to avoid suffering, and in ways that actually doesn't work. It's not that they are evil by nature. They are forms of actions that they don't create the right interdependence. They don't fit well with everything else. And I am very much convinced that suffering is just the result of unbalance. It's like in the body, when we feel pain, is our body showing us that something we are doing is not okay. The way we eat, the way we think, the emotions we have, the way we sleep, the way we sit, there is something there that is out of balance. The same thing is with the suffering of the mind. So positive actions are actions that bring balance. Negative actions are actions that bring unbalance. This is it. Okay. But if you can find this text, the manual, you say in English, manual? No? The Manual of Epiteto.
Yeah.
Okay. At least the first pages you read. If not the whole thing, but the first 3 pages are really important. The book which I have has a long introduction. Go to the direct translation from the Greek. Don't need to go through all the introductions. Just read mainly the main translation. And it's really beautiful. It's really special. Anyhow. So when we talk about karma, positive karma and negative karma is not about good and evil. It's about acting in a way that is coherent, that is consistent, acting in a way that brings harmony, and acting in a way that brings lack of harmony, that brings conflict, that brings tension. This is basically what it is about. But the point is that once I create tension, that tension continues with me until that energy doesn't go somewhere. And this force that we do from our actions, they continue with us from life to life. It's not just something about here, no. When we die, we bring 2 things from one life to another. The predispositions of our own habits and emotions and mind, and the force and the karmic force of our previous action. These are the two things that we bring with us. Yes?
Rinpoche, is it possible to reduce the negative results of our own karma by making a spiritual development?
Imagine one thing. I throw the stick. In the moment that I throw the stick, what can make the stick to stop going on the air? There is a karmic force, there is a force, an inertia, making the stick to fly. If I have an opposite force going in the opposite direction, this can make the stick to stop before it hits something. Okay. So basically, whatever action we have done, the action is finished. But there is a particular karmic force that was generated. If I generate an opposite force directed against that action, I can actually neutralize that karmic force. That's called purification. Okay. Purification means I recognize a specific karmic force that comes from a specific action that I did. I understand that action was not a good choice, and then I generate an opposite energy against it in order to have one karmic force against another one so that it can neutralize it, or at least make it weaker. That's the process of so-called process of purification. Purification doesn't mean that I need to experience the result. It means I generate an opposite force in order to neutralize or to make weaker the previously generated karmic force. Okay? And to do this, we need basically to openly admit our previous actions as a mistake, to commit strongly not to repeat it again, to do this on the basis of a mental state which is opposite to the one of the action that I have done. So if I did something out of hatred, I need to generate a feeling of love. And with that opposite state of mind of the action that I have done, I need to do an action. And then when I do that, then it will go and oppose to the previous one. And this is called the process of purification. And there are many, many practices for purification. But what makes to purify the karma is not the mantra and the visualization only by itself. Is together with generating an opposite state of consciousness, recognizing that action was wrong, committing not to repeat again. Then with this, I do the Vajrasattva mantra, recognizing my own pure nature. I meditate on emptiness. I do many different things. I go to do practice of generosity to help others. I can do so many things in order to generate an opposite action, to neutralize that karmic force that I have done. Similar to that, I can also do the opposite, which means I do something good, then I regret about it, and I do something bad. I neutralize the force of that action. Okay? So, the point here, we could go on for hours and hours and hours talking about karma, okay? But the point here that Lama Tsongkhapa is bringing us right now is that once we have understood the preciousness of this life and certainty of death, the question is, the day I die, what do I bring with me? My habits in a very deep level, the predispositions that I generate in this life. From a very more mundane point of view, if I do a lot of mathematics, I will be reborn with a good predisposition for mathematics, probably. If I play a lot of music, I will be reborn with a predisposition for music. If I tell a lot of lies, I will be reborn with the predisposition to lie. You know, whatever strong, deep habit we create now, we bring that predisposition with us as we are reborn. And together with that, we bring with us the karmic forces of all the actions that we have done. And how many actions do we do every day?
A lot.
Every thought, every word, every physical interaction is a karmic force being generated. So there is a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay? So try to imagine that behind us there is like this ocean, like a tsunami, you know, ready to fall down, like all this force of all the actions that we have done up to now. They're all there, ready to manifest at any moment. And we take them with us from life to life. Unless we do something to oppose to them, there is no expiry date. We can pass 10,000 lives, still there, unless we are able truly to oppose to it. It's like one of the examples is like the seed of lotus. It is said that a seed of lotus, if you can put it on the mud, unless it has the perfect conditions, it will not blossom. It will not, know how to say, sprout. Okay? And it can stay under the earth for more than 2,000 years. There are some lotus seeds that are staying under the ground for more than 2,000 years, they found. And still they were good, waiting for the right condition to ripen. No? So somehow our karmic force is like this. We can have some karmic force, which until the right conditions are not there, they stay there for a very, 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 very long time. Until the right conditions are ripened. So we really, having this awareness, now, what advantage is there to do stupid things? No. So I recognize every action I do, physical interaction, verbal interaction, mental interaction, generates a karmic force. So I am careful with what I do. Yes.
What happens with this inertia when a person reaches enlightenment?
Basically what happens is the following, that in order to experience the result of a karmic force, first of all, we need the condition. Okay? So once I have all the karmic forces from the past, I need at the same time to have the conditions in the present for them to ripen. So before reaching enlightenment, which is called the path of seeing, which is the moment in which the practitioner has had a direct experience of the true nature of reality. And after that moment, there are no any more selfishness, no any more anger, no any more unlimited attachment or desire, and so on. So no defilements. There is no more conditions for the negative karmic forces to ripen, first. Second, in order to eliminate the karmic forces, we need to generate an opposite state of mind. And all the negative karmic forces that we have generated, they were created on the basis of that action with the ignorance of grasping at inherent existence. So, in the moment that the practitioner goes out of samsara and has a direct realization of emptiness, there is a gradual path called the path of meditation, in which gradually he will more and more generate positive actions that will neutralize the negative forces generated from the past. So in the state of Buddhahood, there is no more any other inertia accumulated from the past. This is trying to make it simple, okay? This is the theory at least, okay? So coming to us, two things to do. One thing is try not to create new negative karmic forces. Second, try not to create conditions to ripen the ones, because once a negative karmic forces ripens, we don't have the strength not to react negatively very often. This is one thing. Then we go into this cycle, this loop. And the other issue is that how to say, also a small negative karmic force, if not taken care and left in time, it can create habits. And then we make a small action, then we repeat that small action again, and then slowly we make a habit out of it. And then that karmic force becomes bigger and bigger. It's like a snowball. This can happen also, you know, because every time we make an action, we also get more and more familiarized with ourselves to do that type of action. Well, a small light here, then a small light there, then another small light there, and then one is summing up with the other. And the same type of action is like one small karmic force, adding up to another small karmic force. And then slowly it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and then suddenly there is boom, like a bomb explosion. So, in very few words, we should not, take our own actions as something that we shouldn't be aware of or careful. Every action we do brings a result. And the interesting thing is that very often when we have a negative reaction towards something, why am I doing this? Why am I acting violently and so on? Because I don't want to suffer. But I'm creating causes for suffering in that way. I'm creating tension. I am creating conflict. I'm creating sickness for myself. So what's the point? So by seeing clearly how every action brings results, I make the commitment to stop any negative action I am able to stop and to cultivate every positive action I'm able to cultivate. No? As Lama Tsongkhapa says here, finding firm and definitive conviction in this, please bless me always to be careful to abandon even the slightest negativities and accomplish all virtuous deeds. So wherever there is the opportunity of doing something that is virtuous, may I be able to do it. And wherever I see the possibility to abandon a negative action, may I be able to do it. Okay, I think this is quite clear, no? Okay, so if we look, what are the steps on the path to enlightenment here? First, after relying correctly upon the Guru, we have, first step, preciousness of this life. Second, certainty of death and the certainty of the moment of, and uncertainty of the moment of death. Third step, awareness of karma. Understand how every action brings results, so I need to be careful of every action that I do. You know, from a physics point of view, it says every interaction inevitably brings an transformation. So everything we do has an impact in our lives, without any doubt, and in our future. Even if we look from a more physical point of view, everything I eat will manifest into my body and my mind in a way. How careful should I be with what I eat? Very careful, because sicknesses don't appear from one day to another. They are gradually created. Okay? So, similar to that, every action we do has a very important impact in our life. So, having awareness that every action is important, this is the moment that we start really understanding karma and following the law of karma. It is said we start practicing dharma when we take seriously karma. We start practicing dharma when we take karma seriously into consideration in our life. That's when we start practicing. Okay. It's also very helpful, because something that happens that I don't like, there is no one to blame, nor me or other. If I'm happy experiencing this, is putting together causes and conditions. I did causes in the past which I don't know which were, conditions of the present, here it is. So, as I experience that negative result, I am at the same time consuming a negative karmic force that was generated. And this is not purification, this is called consumption of negative karmic force, which is different than purification. Purification means I generate an opposite karmic force and I'm able to neutralize a negative karmic force without experiencing the result. When I experience the result, it's like putting my head in front of the way of the stick, you know. I stop the stick, but I have hurt my head. I'm not purifying, I'm still eliminating that karmic force, okay? So that's why it is said that when we experience negative results, at least if we can have the awareness, okay, I am consuming a negative karmic force. So something good is there. It doesn't mean that it's good to suffer. That's not the point. And it's not by suffering that we purify. Because it would not even, if we need to purify all the negative karma we have by experiencing suffering, we can stay thousands of years, would not be enough, you know. Instead, through purification, we can do much, much more. And we don't need to go into the suffering, so there is no the reaction on suffering and so on. But the key here is awareness on every action we do. Be careful to avoid what is harmful and to cultivate what is beneficial.
But is it dangerous to have a thought about consumption of karmic forces?
In which sense?
If you think about, oh, this is a consumption of karmic
Yeah.
force, maybe you get a little bit of a slight good feeling.
Yes, that's okay.
It's okay?
Yeah, in the way, like, there is a very strong story, which it is like, you know, when there is movies that says you're not allowed for under 18 years old or something like that, or something similar to that. When Rinpoche was quite young, Lama Rinpoche, he was maybe in his, I think he was around 15. He went to study in the monastery of Sera, living in Tashilum. So he went to see, before saying goodbye, he went to see his teacher there, Kachen Pembala. And his teacher, Kachen Pembala, was already quite old. And he told Rinpoche, he said, please pray for me. He had a lot of faith in Rinpoche because he was also a disciple of Rinpoche's previous life. So he said to Rinpoche, please pray for me. I am quite old already, and I want to die with a terrible disease. And Rinpoche said, what are you asking me, you know? Come on, how can this be possible? I don't understand this. And Rinpoche said, you don't understand, I understand, you just pray. Rinpoche said, okay, I trust you. Then some years later, Rinpoche came back. He was very old. He met his teacher. He was very old and he had a terrible disease in his throat. There was a hole in the throat. And he was not able almost to talk. And it was very difficult. It was a very bad disease. And when he met Rinpoche, he was very happy. And he said, thank you, your prayers did well. And Rinpoche was not understanding. He said, but what is this, you know? And then he said to him, he said, look, this body of mine already gave everything it had to give. I am about to die soon. But before I die, at least I make this body pay some debts of the past, so I don't take them with me to the next life. But it's not for everyone to do this. Okay? That's not, it's something like, do not try at home. Okay? But can you understand the logic behind?
Yeah.
Okay?
You don't purify by suffering.
But this is not purification, but still you consume. You are not purifying, but you are eliminating. So he would do a lot of practice for purification, but that which he could not purify, at least ripen now. Come on, this body is not useful anymore. It already gave everything that it had to do, and I have no attachment to sensation. So come on, ripen in this body any debts that I have from the past, so I can go more light to my next life. Not easy, huh? Okay? So Kachen Pembala did this. Rinpoche, when he talked about it, was quite touched still by the memory of it. So, we don't need to do it on purpose. But it may happen that a very strong negative karmic force manifests as sickness, as difficulties in life, in many levels. When it manifests, instead of feeling that we are the victim of the world, we don't need to feel guilty at all. There's no point of looking for the one to blame. But what I am experiencing is the result of some force that was generated somewhere. So, okay, good that it's going away. And it's okay to feel it in this way. We don't need to go to look for more suffering, because if to suffer would really be the process of purifying, we would make malas with little metal points, and then we will go through our practices of purification, and we could invent some incredible methods of purification, okay? Which others already tried to do before, but that's not the way to purify. But if it happens for whatever reason, then, okay, we see that's a negative karmic force which is ripening. But there is always a complexity. Karma is a very complex subject. Okay.
I was just remembering, Rinpoche used to turn words around.
Yeah.
Then he always said, cancer, cancel.
Yes.
So cancel,
Cancer,
karma.
cancel, which means cancer means you are canceling the depths of the past. Yeah. It goes into that same meaning. So if we sit through that perspective, it changes the way of experiencing also. We are not anymore in a victim position, not against someone, but it doesn't mean like I am the one to blame either. Because, why did we do any stupid things up to now? And why we continue to do stupid things? Because we are ignorant. And we have no one to blame because we are ignorant. We act out of ignorance, and then we act with jealousy, with envy, with anger, whatever, and out of our own ignorance. And that's somehow okay in the sense that that's the process in which we are in, and we are doing an effort to come out of it, but we are in it. And we should not blame ourselves for being in it. So there is a way of, acknowledging it. There is no point on blaming oneself and saying, oh, that's, you see, my fault. But together with it, we need to remember that when karma ripens, it ripens by coming together causes and conditions. So, for example, I come and I hit you. Okay? I hit you strongly. Huh? And then you come upset with me, I imagine, no? Say, oh no, I am just helping you to ripen your karma. I am a condition through which you experience the result of your actions, but I am creating my own new action also. One thing doesn't justify the other, first. Second, it's not because I experience the result of my own karmic forces created in the past that this doesn't mean that the situation that I went through is a difficult situation and so on. There is a level of victimism that exists. If I go through a situation of violence, physical violence, psychological violence, and so on, and I get traumas out of it, and I suffer out of it, that suffering, is it connected with what I experience or not? Sure. And is it connected with the actions of those that were involved with it? Sure. What I experience is still the result of the actions that I did in the past. But this doesn't take away the responsibility of the other person in the interaction that we have through. Okay? Just to make this. Otherwise, we can end up making these shortcuts, which is similar like to that. I beat you and you are the one to blame. It's your karma, I beat you because you have bad karma. Not like that. That's a very, very wrong understanding of the law of karma. Okay? But I don't know, is it clear, the example, just to have this, So, karma is a very complex subject. But the important thing here is to come to the conclusion that every action we do is important to do with the greatest awareness as possible. Takto Pagdan Dembar Jingelop says in Tibetan, may I always be conscious. May I always act out of conscientiousness, of awareness. May I be present in what I do. May I act and interact in a conscious way. Okay? This is the conclusion that comes out of it. Okay, then we move on. For time. So, chebe mingo dunga kungego ide miru sibe punsogi nyemirene tabe dewala tenye chimbo kewara jingilo. The next part, it refers to the development of so-called renunciation, or so-called the certainty to emerge. And it says, seeking samsaric pleasure is the door to all suffering. They are uncertain and cannot be relied upon. Recognizing these shortcomings, please bless me to generate the strong wish for the bliss of liberation. Let's imagine, you know this game, I don't know, how do you say in English? The seesaw? This game where children sit and then it goes up and down like this. How do you say in Dutch? Whip up. So imagine you are in the whip up, okay? And then as you are in the whip up, what happens? What's the nature of this game? When you are down, inevitably, sooner or later, you go up. When you are up, sooner or later, you will go down. Okay. So when we are down, this is like when we are having a sensation of suffering. Physical, mental suffering. And when we are down, what do we want by all means? To go up. When we are up is when we are having a sensation of pleasure. When we are up, we don't want to go down. And we have fear of going down. And the fear of going down already brings us down. Okay? Then we go down. And how much do we pass, how much time, how much energy we pass in our life not wanting to be down and wanting to go up, and once we are up, trying to remain up. How much we spend, how much time, how much energy we spend into this game? A lot. The key, what's the name of the game again, Dave? Hip hop. Vip hop. Vip hop, okay. The key is not wanting to be up in the game. The key is wanting to get out of the vip hop.
Oh, yeah.
It's seeing it and say, there is no point going up and down. I need to get out of it. Okay? So here it is saying, seeking samsaric pleasure. What the meaning here of samsaric pleasure? It means things that give momentary pleasure and well-being, but that cannot sustain a state of well-being and happiness. Pleasure of the senses, recognition of our image, power, money and richness, all these things. It doesn't matter how much I have, they cannot sustain a state of well-being and happiness. This is clear, no? But in order to gain these things, how much energy we put in our life? To gain more money, to gain what I want, to make the person near to me to be as I think the person needs to be. To gain recognition, what people think of me, what they don't think of me. How come you think this of me? You shouldn't think this of me. And the other one is thinking that of me. How is that possible? I have never done this or this and that. How much energy did we actually put into that? How often do we get angry, or we act with jealousy, or how often we act, with negative energy because it is something related to money, something related to not gaining the object of desire, something related to people not behaving in the way we think they should behave, and so on. How often this happens? Very much, no? So, basically, we project our happiness in something that is an illusion of happiness, Because there is nothing wrong in having money. There is nothing wrong in experiencing pleasure. There is nothing wrong in having a good image. The problem is that all these things cannot sustain a state of well-being and happiness. It doesn't matter how much we do. And in order to try to sustain this state of happiness through these things, we make a lot of negative actions. We create a lot of conflicts, a lot of fighting, a lot of issues. So, as Lama Tsongkhapa says here, seeking samsaric pleasure is the door to all suffering. You know? They are uncertain and cannot be relied upon. These are pleasures that once we get, they sooner or later they end. And even when we get them, we cannot rely upon them because they were not able to sustain our state of happiness. The classical example that we always give is the example of drinking water. I am thirsty, I drink water, it's pleasurable. I go on drinking water. What happens to my sensation of well-being? Gets stronger, lower, or it remains the same as long as I drink the same amount of water? The more water I drink, the lower my pleasure becomes until it becomes suffering. And like this is for every pleasure. Try eating chocolate. Try having someone that you like very much that comes and makes you a nice caress. And then goes on, and goes on, and goes on, and goes on for 1 hour, 2 hours, you know. Try listening to the most beautiful music and non-stop. Try eating the best food. Doesn't sustain. There is not one of these things that if I keep with it, it will keep a state of pleasure. There is not one. Having a lot of money is not the more money I have, the happier I am. It doesn't sustain like this. There is even a saying in Tibetan which says, Mila gyugo gyula dakpogo. People need things, things need owners. I want so much this singing bowl, and then I get it so good. Now I need to clean it. I need to find a place where to keep it. I'm worried if it falls. I'm worried who is looking at it. Oh, this is not your singing bowl. Why you are looking at it? I'm the one supposed to play it. You are not the one supposed to play it. And this and that. Then I go home and I'm worried, oh, what is happening to my singing bowl? Easier not to have it sometimes. So, the point is that all these things, they cannot sustain our state of happiness. And from all of this, what is the strongest illusion and the biggest attachment of all? Reality as we think it should be. Our strongest attachment is how things should be, how people should behave, how situations should be. We have our own idealized image of reality, of how our life should be, how situations should be. And if things don't go as we think they should be, oh, then we have a problem. And when they go as we expect, so nice. But how long can they hold? Very briefly. So all these are so-called samsaric pleasures. And they are not able to hold. On the other side, which are the things that the more I have, the better I am?
Inner peace.
Inner peace, yes. What else?
Patience.
Patience, kindness, love, gratitude, generosity, compassion, stability, concentration, joy, satisfaction. You know? And we can go on with other qualities, but there are these inner qualities. The more I have, the better I am. And if I'm able to keep the connection with them, I'm able to keep and sustain a state of well-being. That's what a Buddha is doing. So, basically, understanding this, you know, makes us to generate this strong wish to get out of our own cycle of samsara, instead of wanting to have a comfortable samsara. Because the point is that if I come to you, or if anybody comes to us and asks us, look, let's make a deal. You have two possibilities. Or long, gradual, difficult process to enlightenment, or comfortable samsara right now. What do you choose? Let's start by taking comfortable samsara. Okay, let's have a comfortable samsara. And then after we see about enlightenment. We are always in time for that. And very often what we are looking for is that. We want the situations to be as according to our wishes. We want to have pleasures. We want to avoid problems. We want life to be comfortable and so on. Which in a way it's okay, but it's a big illusion. It's okay in the sense there is nothing wrong with it by itself. But it cannot sustain truly the state of well-being. I don't know. Sometimes people came to me and said, Lama, I would really like to take some vacations from myself. It's not possible, I'm sorry. Have you ever seen someone trying to take vacations from him or herself? How? Drugs, yes. Alcohol, pleasures in general. Many ways of trying to disconnect from oneself. Disconnect from one's own sensations and feelings, and disconnect from one's own perception of reality. No? And you know, if it really worked, I would be the first one to be on drugs. I like very much my reality, no problem with that. But if it really worked. But the problem is what? Let's say you have very difficult reality that you perceive. A lot of mental suffering. Then you take a drug, and then you perceive reality differently, and you are with full joy and so on. And it's something sustainable. Oh, so good. Let's all take that drug, you know. But what happens after some time, when the effect of the drug goes away? You have a long-lasting result that goes on year after year and in this life, or when this result finishes, you go back to where you were before. I have never taken any drugs, so I don't know. But from what I look at, I see that go back. You know? There is a phrase that Rinpoche said, in which Rinpoche said, if drugs would bring spiritual development, the world will be full of enlightened people. So the point is that we try to escape from something using an external means which actually cannot sustain it. It's similar to Buddha. During his time, one of the first things that Buddha tried were some meditation techniques of asceticism, in which Buddha would reach some levels of consciousness in which he would be completely disconnected from his body at a certain level that he could be under the biggest pain and he would be still remain in that inner state of calm. And they would do very extreme trials. One of the most extreme trials would be to put 4 fires in the 4 directions, 1 fire in each direction and 1 above the head. And stay in meditation with this big fire on top of the head and fire in all sides and being in this extreme heat and still remain perfectly in peace and calm. You know? And all sorts of things. I don't know how many of you ever saw in India, there are some crazy things of sadhus doing. I saw sometimes, there are some that they decide, I close my hand and I never ever open again. What happens? If you really do, what happens? Try to think about it. What happened to the nails? They stop growing? No. So the nails start going inside the flesh, they get out from here, in between. It's quite crazy what happens. And still they don't open the hand. It's this idea that if I can control the body with the mind, I can control the mind and everything else. And they're the most crazy things that you can see. In India, there is one time every 12 years where all these people meet in India. It's called the Kumbh Mela. It's like this incredible great gathering of the most crazy sadhus, you know. It's something quite shocking, actually. Anyhow, then there are some very serious, some which is very strange. But the main point, what Buddha saw, was that he said, okay, even if I go to these deep states of meditation, in which there is no suffering, no sensation of pleasure or suffering, and I can stay in it for very long periods of time, sooner or later I need to go out of it. And when I go out of that state of meditation, the sensations come back again. So that's not a solution. It's like a sort of inner drug without needing to take any substance. What's the point? So, what Lama Tsongkhapa is telling us here is, you know, we need to really focus on what really brings well-being on a long-term basis. And what can only bring well-being to us is the development of inner peace, of stability, of joy, of satisfaction. And we need to cultivate these qualities. So once we see this clearly, we develop this strong, deep intention. I want to get out of the cycle of suffering, so-called samsara. I want to reach a state of inner peace, so-called nirvana. And this is the moment in which, putting into very simple words, in which we should develop some sort of passion. We fall in love for inner peace. Because there is a very simple rule in life. We don't do that we don't want. We will only do the things that actually we want. Or not. Even when we do things that theoretically we don't want, we do them because, okay, it's better to do anyhow. So truly we want. So, unless we want to get out of the cycle of suffering, we will not do anything to get out of it. So the next step, after understanding the law of karma, is seeing samsara, recognizing what is samsara, recognizing the all-pervasive suffering, looking at it and saying, I don't want it anymore. I'm tired of looking for happiness in what cannot sustain it, trying to be happy in ways that is not able to sustain, and then trying again, then I am unsatisfied, then I feel happy for a moment, then I am angry with something. Too much. I really want to find a way in which it's stable. And is it possible? Yes. Because actually, if I cultivate that things, that the more I have, the better I am, that we have just said before, and automatically it eliminates the other stuff that the more I have, the worse I am, such as anger, jealousy, envy, fear, hatred, insatisfaction, nervousness, anxiety. These are all things that the more I have, the worse I am. The more I develop the things, the more I have, the better I am. Automatically, I'll eliminate the other ones, the opposite ones. And gradually, I'm able to be better and better. So this is the objective that is placed here with this line. Okay. I think it's quite clear, no? And when it comes to this, it's really like having this strong, how do you say, certainty that I can make it. One of the most important qualities we need to develop in our own path is the trust in our own selves. That I can make out of samsara. I can get out of the cycle of suffering. This is called in Tibetan nejum, which is translated often originally as renunciation, which I believe is a wrong translation. The more correct translation will be definitive emergence. Definitive, the certainty of something, definitive. Emergence, is to come out. Like from deep bottom of the sea, you go out to the bottom, up. So you emerge out of something. So definitive emergence is the certainty that we can get out of suffering. And this is like, I believe that I can make it. Because unless we truly trust that we can make it, we will not put an effort to get there. So, making one analogy, simple example, is connected when I came to Holland once. Many years ago, I think it was almost 20 years ago, I don't know exactly, but many years ago, at least 15, I was buying one car. It was the first time I needed to buy a car. Before that, I always had 2 times people gave me a car to use. One time a very old car, another time a new car, but that time I needed to buy a car. So what I did is that I was able to put some money aside and I had a budget to buy a car. So once I had my budget, which was like medium low, I looked at what cars can I buy for that money. And I made my wish list basically. And during that time I came to Holland. And in the Schiphol airport in Amsterdam, there was a big advertisement outside the airport from Rolls-Royce. And there was this picture of a Rolls-Royce with written, and it was clearly the advertisement of Rolls-Royce, somewhere was written Rolls-Royce, but the main text in the advertisement was, if you ask the price, it's not a car for you. So my point was, I am not even entering into the discussion, is the car beautiful, is the car ugly, is it of good quality, is it of not good quality, is it a car that has the characteristics that I would like or not, because simply it's out of my range. I don't believe that I can buy it. But what happens if someone comes and brings a very expensive car and say, look, the car has all the qualities you want, and you can buy it because you can pay with 200 euros a month for the rest of this and the other 10 lives. You know? 200 euros a month. Why not? Then you put as a possibility. When we believe that we can get it, then we start doing something to get it. So when I had my list of cars, it was very limited. Not because there were no other cars which I thought that were good. Simply, I didn't believe that I could buy them. So, believing that I can make it is fundamentally important. In the same way, where can I reach? Can I be a bodhisattva? Can I become a Buddha? Yes or no? Truly, deeply. Yes? No? I don't know. Yes. Because unless I believe, I will not put energy in that direction, truly. I can believe that I can be a good Buddhist, and I try to put energy to be a good Buddhist. I can believe that I can be a good disciple, and I will put energy to be a good disciple. I can believe that I can be many things. But I would not put energy to be anything unless I believe that I can make it. So it's fundamentally important in this process to have trust in ourselves, to have this very strong self-esteem in which it says, yes, I have jealousy, yes, I have insatisfaction, I have anger, I have hatred, I have crazy reactions, but I can make it. I can become a Buddha. Yes, it will take some time, but I can make it. One little step after the other, but I can make it. Once we have this strong determination, this strong trust, then we can put effort. You know? It's like, why this place, this center exists? Why Lama Ganchen Rinpoche put so much energy since he was very small in the Dharma and then coming to the West and opening Dharma centers? Why centers like Albagnano exist, you know? I was telling this very few days ago. If I did not believe, truly, that it's possible for each one of us, through the Dharma, to make a real change within us and develop more love towards ourselves, develop more love towards others, and gradually get out of the cycle of samsara, if I did not believe in that, the first thing I would do is close the center. Well, what's the point? You know, I would go to live in a little place in the mountain by myself, read some nice book, have nice walks in the forest. Enough. But the real reason why we are there, why Rinpoche did everything he did, why I am here doing what I do, and many other people do what they do, is because for my side, is because I truly believe that each and every one of us can make it. And this makes everything meaningful. I have no attachment of having a temple and having a center. For what? If it's not for the development, the inner development of each one. You know? Truly. I don't think Rinpoche was attached to the idea of having a center and having a temple and all of that. It was attached to the idea that each one of us can grow spiritually and can develop more love and more stability and more patience and really, really be part of a good interdependence for this world. This, yes. And recognizing that through the teachings of Dharma and the practice of Dharma, it's possible to help into that direction. That's why all of this exists. No other reason. So, one of the thoughts that I came to me a few times, like, if someone like Rinpoche believed so much in me, why can't I believe in myself? The only reason why Buddha taught the Dharma after reaching enlightenment was because he believed that we can put it into practice. Otherwise, he would have never taught it. The only reason, sincerely, why I am here this whole day talking is because I believe that it can make some little click inside the mind of each one and actually make a difference somewhere, and we all have the possibility to bring it into practice, truly. Otherwise, there is no point. So, we need to believe in ourselves. And it's possible. And we need to have this sort of pride. Shantideva in the Bodhisattva Charyavatara describes it so well. When he says like, that he describes ourselves looking towards our own defilements and say, come on, I'm stronger than you. I can deal with your anger. Huh? Careful, be careful. I can deal with that. So to look upon ourselves and say, yes, I can make it. I can reach out of this cycle of jealousy, or I can reach a state of patience and stability. I can make it. And I will put all my energy for it. So we allow ourselves to fall in love with this better version of ourselves that we want to reach, with the idea of helping others in a more profound way. We develop this strong desire. Sometimes you may have listened that desire is something that needs to be abandoned. Actually, desire is the most powerful force that we have, and we need to cultivate. We just need to direct it correctly. So, the verse here of what Lama Tsongkhapa is saying is asking us, what do we actually want? Instead of wanting these pleasures that actually cannot sustain happiness, it's better for us to desire a state of bliss, a state of well-being that is sustainable. This is the main thing. So if you ask, what do you want, unsustainable happiness or sustainable happiness, using a modern world? You want? Sustainable happiness. That's not because we want to have a green kind of happiness. Sustainable happiness means it's something that we generate, and the more we put of the same stuff in, the better it gets. And once again, then we conclude this part. What are the things that the more I have, the less happier I am? All sorts of pleasure, like the process of dopamine. I get pleasure, I get power, I get money, I get things, I make things the way how I want, looks wonderful, but I always need more and 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 more. And the things that the more I have, the better I am. Satisfaction, joy, respect, gratitude, love, awareness, wisdom, and so on. So we put the direction. That's what I want. That's where I'm putting my energy. That's where I want to go. Okay? That's the next step. Okay. 남다 삼바테이 정바이 젠단 셰싱 파욕 쳔부이 템베츠아와 소설 타르팔라 drupa ningpo chebra chingilo. Led by this pure thought, which is the pure intention to get out of samsara, to reach the liberation of nirvana, to reach inner peace, mindful recollection, vigilance, and conscientiousness arise. The root of the teachings is keeping the pratimoksha vows. Please bless me to accomplish this essential practice. Which means having the certainty, the clarity that yes, what I want is to get out of samsara, what I want is to develop that aspects of myself that the more I have, the better I am. Having this, what I do, I bring mindfulness to my daily life of how I speak, how I act, how I think. I bring vigilance, which means that not only I remain connected to what I want to go, at the same time I'm checking what I'm doing. And when I see that I get a little bit out of the way, I enter into that dynamics which are harmful, I go back and say, no, that's not the right way. And I come back again. And at the same time I develop conscientiousness. Conscientiousness means to remain aware of the things that we know, but that normally we forget. Like, do we know that, okay, example we did before, do we know that we are going to die? How? But very often we act as if we would not die. And we forget that we will die. That's lack of conscientiousness. Okay? Do we know that it's harmful to act out of anger? But sometimes we forget about it. So to being conscientious means to be aware of that which we already know. So, the root of the teachings, the root of the path, is to keep the pratimoksha vows. Pratimoksha is in Tibetan called sosor tarpa, which means for one's own personal liberation. The pratimoksha vows are the vows that we take, the rules that we apply to our own lifestyle, in order to avoid that which is harmful to ourselves on our path. So killing, stealing, lying, taking substances that take away our awareness, having a sexual misconduct, all attitudes that will harm us on our path. And then there are many other vows that can come together with that. But things that, what are the behaviors that actually harm me on my path? That sometimes I may wish to do them, you know. There may come a moment in which it appears that it's more convenient to lie. There is a moment in which it appears it's more convenient to steal, to take that which was not given. There is a moment in which it appears that it's more convenient to kill, or to have sexual misconduct, or to take substances that take away the clarity of our own mind. But we have a vow, and we say, no, I will not do it, because I know that it's on a middle, long term, it's harmful to me. So I commit myself to avoid the types of actions that are harmful. And this protects my mind from it. So making a vow is actually a way to protect ourselves from our habits, from our own, negative habits. Making vows, protecting our own vows, keeping our vows. The word vows, it's also called the mind protection. It's to protect us from our own bad habits. And if we do not make such commitments, sooner or later we will repeat them. So, Basically, normally the Pratimoksha vows are basically 5 vows, which are the more common ones. Then there are others that can be added to it. But it's avoid killing and value life. Avoid lying and value truth. Avoid stealing and value respecting what belongs to each other. Avoid taking substances that take away the clarity of the mind, such as alcohol and drugs, and value mental clarity and stability. And avoid sexual misconduct and value the respect for each other and a healthy sexual relationship. And in this point we could go into many details in this way and that way, but for me, putting it in a simple way, there's 2 main points which refers to a healthy way of relationship, of sexual relationship. It needs 2 characteristics. One is, needs to be truthful and transparent, because in a way that we are doing something hidden, from here, from there, from this, from that, it already shows there is something there that is not really working in a way. And the other aspect which is also important, it's something that I heard with these words the first time from a friend, which was giving me the etymology of the word in Italian is lussuria. I don't know how to say in English. Lust? Maybe not exactly lust. Possible. But anyhow, the meaning of the word, it means the lack of consideration for the dignity of one's own object of desire. In other words, I want you because I want my own pleasure to be satisfied. I want my own desire to be satisfied. And I don't care what you feel, what you don't feel, what you want, what you don't want, as long as you are a good mean for my own pleasure. That's a way of sexual misconduct. It generates tension, it generates negativity. Instead, like this type of sexual misconduct into a very extreme is rape. But it's very common in the relation between people. They're not to be experienced as a way of exchange, but mainly as a way of taking. And this goes a little bit into that direction. So we need mainly in this way to try to be truthful to our words, respect life, truthful and respect what belongs to one and to the other, have respect to the things that we have around us, respect to our body and the clarity of our mind, and also respect to each other in the relationship and respect to one's own sexuality and the power of that energy that we have and that action also, which is a very powerful part of life. So this is something that it's part of the path, to take care of our actions. Okay? Then together with that, there is, for example, avoid lying not only, but avoid gossiping, avoid creating division with our words, avoid using harsh speech and making suffering through our harsh speech, avoid using physical violence, avoid having any thoughts in which we wish to harm others and this type of things. Okay? So making it simple, here Lama Tsongkhapa is telling us, once you really want to develop the characteristics which can sustain happiness, and you truly want to avoid that which cannot sustain happiness, and that which generates suffering, bring that awareness to your daily life. And sometimes I listen this when we are like inside Buddhism, there is this idea that, oh, but I am Buddhist, and what really matters is the mind. What I do physically really doesn't matter so much. I can drink a lot of alcohol, and I can get drunk, and I can do this, or I can do that, because what really matters is in my mind, and what is my motivation, and what is my awareness. Yes, if you are able to do it. But we cannot somehow, cheat ourselves. If we are able to keep the right balance. There was one Lama which I met when I was very young. His name was Chak Dutuku, Nyingma Lama. And he was not a monk, and he used to drink a lot of alcohol. And sometimes he would do tsok. And during the tsok, he would drink, and he had like this bottle of whiskey in his table. And he would go on and on and on and on. And sometimes he would get like completely drunk, sitting in the throne, and then he would give teachings. And I was never present in any of that occasions, but I was told that he was living in Brazil for many years. I was told that he would give the most beautiful teachings when he was completely drunk. Like really very profound and very subtle and very special teachings in that moment. Because, in other words, when a person is very drunk, what happens? Shows what is inside without filters. But when the person has a beautiful mind inside, and you take away the filters, what is showing to the world? The beautiful mind. Okay? So after people needed to help him to go out of the throne, and to go back to the room. Okay? It's delicate on some aspects. It's not like, okay, every one of us, we can drink as much as we want. You are free to do anything you want. You are simply not free from the consequences of your own actions. And we know ourselves. So, based on that, it is important for us to understand that in order to control the mind, we must first control the actions of the body. And we are vulnerable to what happens physically. We are vulnerable to what physical interactions we have. So we need to be careful how we act physically, how we act verbally, and as a consequence, how we act mentally. And it's not a matter of saying, this is allowed, this is not allowed. It's a matter of saying which type of behavior is beneficial for me and others, and which type of behavior is harmful. And that which is beneficial, I need to cultivate. That which is harmful, I need to avoid. Abandon. That's like basic conviction. So, the root of following the path, here is translated the root of the teaching, Tempa in Tibetan. Tempa means the doctrine, but the path. It's not only, Tempa is also our own practice. It's not just like the formal teachings. So the root of our practice, in this context, is keeping correctly our own ability to avoid what is harmful and to accomplish what is beneficial, which is called the Pratimoksha vows. Please bless me to accomplish this essential practice. Please help me to do this. And this part of the practice is also called loving oneself. Okay? And someone may say, yes, Lama, but it's difficult. I know. No one ever said it's easy. But the other way around, to follow our bad habits and to make them stronger and stronger, the result is easy or difficult? It's easy to do, but the result is difficult. The energy that we consume with it, it's enormous. So in this way, it's better to have this clarity. Okay? So this is showing that the next step on the path to enlightenment is to love oneself. To have this strong determination to abandon what is harmful and to cultivate what is beneficial in the way how I act physically, in the way how I speak, and in the way how I think. And this is the strong step on the path. Okay? Then, with this, we conclude the first part of the path, which means developing love towards ourselves. Once we have done that clearly, so we learn how to take good care of ourselves, and we have clarity of what we want, Then we go to the next step. And here it says, Rangi sitsol hoa chishintu magur drowa, kuingan te drawar, tongne drowa, trollwe, kur kerwe, janju semchuk jongar jingilok. Just as I have fallen in the sea of samsara, so have all mother migratory beings. Please bless me to see this, train in this supreme bodhicitta, and bear the responsibility of freeing migratory beings. So basically here it says, once I know how to love myself, the next step is to expand this towards others. To develop so-called bodhicitta. Then tomorrow we will enter into details about bodhicitta. Okay? But it's the step that once I learn how to love myself, the next step is loving others. Opening my heart. But if we do not learn how to be a good selfish person, we will not be able to be a bodhisattva. First step, we need to be a good selfish one. Because the question is, are we selfish or not? Do you care about your happiness? Do you care about your suffering? Your own happiness and suffering, is it your priority number one or not? Yes. Okay, so we are selfish. That's okay. So what it means to be a wise, selfish person? As we are selfish, at least we do it in a good way. Let's make an example. I go to eat. And I have different things that I can choose to eat. I can choose a hamburger with a lot of, processed food in it. I can choose some fresh vegetables. I can choose a balanced meal, which is not so very tasty, but very healthy. And I am in front of different, and I can choose, there's a big chocolate cake there, and all sorts of foods there. If I am really selfish, and I am in front of all this food, a wise, selfish person, what would you choose? That which is pleasurable or that which is healthy? If you are a stupid, selfish person, you choose that which is pleasurable. If you are a wise, selfish person, you choose that which is healthy. If you are a more compassionate, wise person, you choose that which is healthy, but at the same time has a lower impact on the environment and is also of more benefit for the whole. But in the same way, being a wise, selfish means doing that which is of more beneficial for yourself. And this brings us to one of the greatest challenges of life that we all have. There are 4 types of objects that we interact with in our life. 4 types of situations that we go through. Okay? 2 of them are very easy, we don't need to worry, and 2 of them are very difficult, that we need to be careful. The first one are the situations that are pleasurable when we experience them and are beneficial to us, are healthy, are good for us. We don't need to worry about them because we are naturally attracted to them. The second are the situations that are harmful to us and at the same time are unpleasant. They are unpleasant, we don't like going through it, and they're also harmful to us. So these kind of things, we don't need to worry about them because naturally we will try to avoid them. Okay? Then what are the other 2, which are the real challenges? The situations that are pleasurable but are harmful. And the situations that are unpleasant but are beneficial. And this brings us to a strange question. Why do we like things that are harmful to us? Do you like anything that is harmful to yourself? Yes, me too. Why? You know, when I go to the doctor and the doctor say you cannot eat this and that, always come, why do you tell me not to eat the things that I like the most? I got once an answer for that, which convinced me. What's the name of the doctor in Spain? I always forget his name. Ramiro. Ramiro, no? We were together with lunch with this doctor in Spain called Ramiro, our friend. He's a good doctor. He has studied not only the full normal allopathic doctor studies, but he also did homeopathy and also Chinese medicine. And very kind man. And talking to him, one time we were having lunch together and I had my own health issues and we were talking about it together. And then he said to me, he made the following example. He said, you know, when a patient comes to me and the first thing that I ask the patient is, what do you like eating the most? And let's say the patient says, I like eating watermelon. So he said, the first thing I tell the patient is stop eating watermelon. Afterwards I go to see why watermelon may be harmful to that patient. But if you are sick, you are naturally attracted to that which makes the sickness stronger. And this made me to think about the following analogy. Imagine something that is unbalanced. When the object is in balance, where does the force, pushes towards? Balance. Okay. But when it starts going out of balance, where does the force pushes towards? Going back to balance or being more out of balance? More out of balance. So, to be in a healthy state means to have a body that is in balance, where the elements and the body is in balance. When we are out of balance, we are attracted by the things that make us more out of balance. I don't know if this is clear. Okay? One small example. There is a relationship with another person. And we are in balance. We look to each other and we are happy to see each other. We have a good relation. Everything is fine. It's okay. Everything is a big word, but mostly fine. We are in balance. Then suddenly happened that the other person, for whatever reason, got upset. Job-wise, tired, hormones, whatever. Okay? The other person acts in a way that is aggressive towards us. Can it happen? In the job, in the family, at home, wherever. Then the other person is aggressive towards us. When the other person is aggressive, what happened to the balance? Gone. So we are out of balance. What is our natural way of reacting towards that situation out of balance? To bring it back into balance or to pull in the same direction? Where do we put energy? Into balance or into out of balance? You shout towards me, what I do? I acknowledge why you are suffering and I try to help and I am patient and so on, or I shout back. What is our spontaneous way? We can freeze, that's also possible. Not helping also. But our tendency is to put energy in what is making the out of balance stronger. So, why do we like things that are harmful to us? Because we are sick. Why we are attracted to things that are harmful to us? Because we are sick. And as I say this, it comes to my mind this image. When I was just recently in the United States, of people eating so badly. And you can see in the shape of their bodies that they are so unhealthy. and at the same time they are eating this food with such a high amount of fat and sugar and salt and processed food in such a level. And I was looking at it, I was shocked, and I was saying, but it's like you can see that you are sick and you are eating poison with so much pleasure. I was looking at it and I said, this should be prohibited by law, you know. That's too much freedom, come on. The freedom to harm oneself at this level, you know. So, why do we do that? Because we are sick. So when we get attracted to things that we like but are harmful to us, this means we are sick. You know, in a relationship, we are attracted to relating to each other in ways that are not healthy, that are harmful. Why? Because we are sick, we are unbalanced. So the key is putting energy in the other side to try to bring back to balance. Not just to let it like that. So one of the big challenges in life is to avoid that which is pleasurable but is harmful, and to do that which is unpleasant but is beneficial. And this means that in our priority, we need to exchange the priority. In priority number 1 is what is beneficial to me. Priority number 2 is what is pleasurable to me. So it's not more important what I want, but it's more important what I need. If we are able to do this, you can keep any diet. Because we are so attached to our pleasure and to what I want. And we live in a time in which, since we were small, and nowadays even worse, we grow up with the idea that if I want, it's a right I should have. And that's so crazy, so unhealthy. Because what we want is not necessarily what is good for us. Because we are not really healthy in this way. So, learn to understand what is good and what is not good, what is harmful and what is beneficial, and learn to have this determination and this joy in doing what is beneficial for us, doing what is healthy for our body, for our mind, for our environment. Using another terminology is, we cultivate what is healthy, we abandon that which is unhealthy. Emotionally, mentally, physically, financially, every level. If something is harmful, forget about it. So, this is something that we need to repeat to ourselves, but in a gentle and kind way. We cannot expect to be a Buddha from one day to the other. What happens is that if we are too hard in ourselves, I cannot this, I cannot that, I cannot that, I cannot that, there is one point in which we will break, and then we don't do anything. Instead, we choose one way of action. I will start by this little part here. And then slowly, slowly we do that. You know? It's somehow, how to say, we need to be more smart than our bad habits. Which is, we need to do the right thing as if we are doing nothing. No, I'm not doing anything. No, I'm not in diet. I'm just not eating these things, but I'm not in diet. No, I'm not giving up on that drugs. No, I'm just not having it. That's all. If I want, I can have it, but I don't want. And then slowly, slowly, we try to create a new habit. Instead of going, oh, I cannot do this, how bad I am, I shouldn't do like this. Because if we go into that direction, this was one of the first teachings that Lama Ganchen gave to me when I was very young. I remember, I was like 13. And Rinpoche told me very clearly, he said, remember, when you say to someone to do, they would want not to do. When you say to someone, don't do, they will want to do.
Yeah, because the habit is already there.
So
Then you change
don't
it.
say no to people when you want them actually to do it. You know, that way you need to be careful. Like, people have this strange attitude, you know. I remember very clearly Rinpoche telling me this. So, with ourselves, it's like this. If we start saying to ourselves, I cannot do this, I cannot do that, how bad I am here, how bad I am then, that is one moment in which you say, yes, I am bad. Yes, I am like this, so I do it. Forget. Instead not. I love myself. I care for myself. So, together with what I am now, together with the habits that I have now, I add slowly good habits. I add slowly things that are beneficial to me. I add things that are good for myself. I give up slowly things that are not good for myself. But the most important here is not the specific things that I add or that I give up, but is the ability, truly the habit of giving priority to what is beneficial instead of what is pleasurable. Giving priority to abandon what is harmful instead of what is actually pleasurable or not, you know. Giving priority to the need instead of to the want. If we are able to make this exchange, then the rest comes easily. It's not a matter of the specific object, what I can do and what I cannot do. It's a matter of attitude towards us, of priority that we have in relation to our own selves. Okay. And again, someone may say to me, Lama, but it's difficult, huh? Yes. Sure, it's difficult. But on the other side, if we do, it happens, and it's much easier than what it appears. And if someone asks, but there is sort of, sacrifice is not even the right word, but there is difficulty involved, you know. Yes. But this makes me think, life is difficult, or not? Childhood, is it easy or difficult to be a child? Compared to an adult, we look to the child and we say, oh, that's an easy life. But being a child, you know, growing up slowly, understanding what is reality, what is right, what is wrong, what is this, what is that, how I relate to people, how other people are seeing me, going to school, doing all of that. I don't know if it's easy. It's easy or difficult, childhood. You know, going to school, children often can be quite mean also. Huh? Or not? So, it's not easy necessarily, school. And being a child. Being teenage, easy or difficult? Difficult. After teenage, starting to be an adult, finding a job, choosing what to do in life professionally, having a family or not, finding one's own financial independence, and so on. Easy or difficult? Difficult. Following up the steps that you have chosen and keeping up with it after that. Keeping the relationship that you have built up, following the job that you have chosen, being the adult that you ended up to be. Easy or difficult? It's difficult. It's tough. Getting old? Being old, easy or difficult? Easy, that's a good one. This means that you are getting old in a good way, and which is a wonderful thing. But often, there are a lot of difficulties involved with it. Dying? I don't know. I don't remember. But the fact is that there are difficulties involved in life. But just connecting to our friend case, if we live life in a good direction, I believe that one of the best ages is the later part of the life. If we are able to build up a good life before. Okay, and we could go on and on explaining why. But the point is that difficulty is involved in life. I don't remember any moment in my life or of anyone that I know that didn't have difficulties to deal with. I can think about the most amazing people I ever met, like Lama Ganche Rinpoche. Or I can think about his own guru, Kyabche Trichan Rinpoche, which was, I never met him, but according to everyone that met him, said, most amazing person. So many difficulties in life. You know, when you listen to the stories of what Trichan Rinpoche went through, or what Lama Ganche Rinpoche went through, many of the difficulties, for most of us, we would not even bear it. So, it's not that there were no difficulties. I remember Rinpoche going through difficulties and having a very wise and way ability to deal with it, but difficulties were there. So, I don't know anyone in my life that had one moment in their life, a little longer than a few minutes, where there were no difficulties at all. Always there was something there. So I have my own theory. That is, do what you do, difficulties will be there. So, at least, you know, have difficulties that make you grow. No, the difficulty to change our habits, the difficulty to be more kind and develop patience, the difficulties to cultivate virtuous actions, the difficulties to learn and to open our mind to a more coherent worldview. It is difficult. There is a lot of effort involved, but it brings great benefit. So the idea, I want to avoid difficulties, that's an illusion. If it's not for one thing, it will be for another. So it's better to be for something beneficial. This is something that I believe. And once we do it, then we can live very joyfully, you know, there is no problem. But it's part of life in this way. So we use life in a meaningful way. Okay. So the first step here where we conclude for today is in which Lama Tsongkhapa reminds us that the first steps in the path is to remind ourselves of the preciousness of this life, the certainty of death, the law of karma, understanding what is samsara, developing the strong intention, I want to get out of samsara. And then having a way of life that is consistent, coherent with that intention. I avoid that which is harmful, I cultivate that which is beneficial. This is the order that we go through. Okay? So when we ask, I want to practice Dharma, what shall I do? Here is very clear steps to follow. Okay? Then in between that, we do mantras, we do sadhanas, we accumulate recitation of prayers, we do meditation, our breath, we go for pilgrimage, we do karma yoga, we study philosophy. All of that is helping in support of this process that we go through. Okay? And then, but it's important to understand that other than doing all of that, there is an inner process that we go through. And these are the steps that are clearly given to us for us to follow. Okay? And it's not so impossible. Huh? I think everything that we saw up to now, it's something that we can all do, or not. It is within our reach, or it's completely out. I don't know how you feel.
Within reach.
I think it's within the reach. Not easy, but it's within the reach. It's possible. So let's go for it, you know. It's there. And we are already doing it. Many of us, we are already in that process. We just need to continue walking in that direction. Okay. So we will conclude here for today. With this, so we conclude the first of the three main aspects of the path, the first important part, which is that which is regarding the love of one's own self. Then tomorrow we will go through the other part, which is basically developing love towards others, having a correct view of reality. And here there is also a whole reference through the practice on the Vajrayana, generation stage and completion stage according to Vajrayana. This is also referring here in this text, okay? But it's showing the rest of the path. Okay, sure, we cannot explain the whole thing in 2 days, but at least to have an overview and understanding what are the steps that we need to follow. Okay? And for me, something very important is that the steps on the path are inner states of mind that we need to develop, or states of consciousness that we need to develop. It's not external things that we need to do. And that to have this clarity. So as we read these verses, we imagine that we are developing these states of consciousness. We request the blessings, light comes from Lama Tsongkhapa towards us, fills our body, and we imagine that we develop that state of consciousness as we say that verse. Okay, so I develop the awareness of the preciousness of this life. I develop the awareness of certainty of death and so on. So we go to that as we recite the text. Okay? So we do now our dedications. Jetsun Lama Kotse Raten Chin Namkratin Le Chokchur Gebata La Santempe Drume Sasumgi Drove Munse Taktu Negurchi Kewa Kuntu Yanda Lamada Drame Chiki Pela Longche Chin Sada Lamge Yenten Rabzone Dorje Change Koba Nyurtovisho Nimo Dele Tsendele Nime Kuyan Delekshin Ninsen Taktu Delekpe Kuncho Sumki Chingilop Kuncho Sumki Ngodrupsol Kuncho Sumki Trashisho. At dawn or dusk, at night or midday, may the rituals grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all realizations and string all the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness. Have a good rest. Then we see you tomorrow morning.